Odd TV. Learning is fun. Oh, I love these channels. They teach you new and interesting ideas and facts about the universe, and none of them are ever factually inaccurate garbage thrown together by hacks or the intellectually subnormal, pushing their crazy ideas in a way that's more palatable to the unwashed plebs. Teach me, O wise and infallible listicle.
Water, when unmanipulated, is to find its level. So whether you look at a cup of water, a bathtub, a swimming pool, a lake, or the ocean, it's flat. Of course, natural motion is not considered and doesn't equal a curve.
Curve? Wait. Oh no. Oh god no, this is a flat art video, isn't it? Using the sacred format of jaunty tune combined with formulaic list of, well, I would say facts, but words is about the best way I can put it. How could you? In this case, I guess it's time to actually listen to what's being said and then do my thing. And today was going so well. I saw a cat meme and everything.
Water, when unmanipulated, is to find its level. So whether you look at a cup of water, a bathtub, a swimming pool, a lake, or the ocean, it's flat. Of course, natural motion is not considered and doesn't equal a curve.
And what do you think makes the water stay there? What force makes it act in that way? I know flatards aren't big into space, but why do you think in a zero-G environment water does this? It's almost like there's some kind of force that in this instant is missing that makes the water behave completely differently than you're claiming it always does. In fact, that just made me remember something else that shits your first premise all over the bed, the walls, and the ceiling too. What's this? That's a bead of water on a piece of hydrophobic material. Now it may be sort of squashed, but there is in no way you could call that flat, and that's on Earth. Of course, what's squishing it? Take it away, Desert File.
Gravity, you fucking retard!
And if the water is being pulled flat onto the surface by gravity, what makes you think it wouldn't happily pull it from basically any angle, perhaps making it wrap around a spherical object of some sort? Now, what might one call that?
We have zero authentic pictures of the Earth and they're all composites, and NASA even admits that they Photoshop Earth images.
It is Photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Semantics. Complete and total semantic twaddle. Yes, we do have photos of Earth, a metric fuck ton of them. You don't have to show the entire planet in one shot to have a picture of Earth. You wouldn't say something wasn't a picture of me just because it only had a picture of my face without makeup on in it. But the NASA fella is not talking about all photos of Earth, but specifically the high detail photos that we use and are useful. They are composites because most of the photos are taken by satellites that are too close to Earth to get anything but a partial image. And when he says photoshopped, that doesn't mean changed to be fake, but simply that that's the only way to see everything at the current resolution and distance we have to work with.
On numerous occasions, NASA admits that we can't go beyond low Earth orbit, which is between 99 miles and 1,200 miles away. The interesting thing is that the moon is said to be 238,000 miles away, which is a difference of 236,800 miles.
I don't understand how that's part of the same point, and also bullshit. Of course we can go further away, but you're not going to show these numerous occasions where they've said it, because when put into context, a hypothetical sentence like, we can't go beyond low Earth orbit, becomes, in order to get X, Y or Z type of satellite to work, we can't go beyond low Earth orbit. And it's almost like you're picking something in the same manner one would pick a small red fruit.
No matter if you're on the ground, on top of a building, a mountain, a hot air balloon, an airplane, or looking at high-altitude amateur balloon footage, the horizon never fails to rise right to your eyes.
Hey, all these things that are way closer to the Earth than I have any idea because I simply cannot fathom how small I am compared to the planet I call home, yeah, they prove me right. Of course, pretty much anything above the range makes me look like a moron, but I'm just going to pretend that you can't do that because otherwise I would have to face the fact that maybe I'm not as smart as I think I am. Wab wab.
Whether you are looking at Toronto's skyline from Niagara on the Lake, 31 miles away, Chicago's skyline from Union Pier, 43 miles away, or even Oahu from Kauai, which is up to 108 miles away from center to center, or 73 miles away from the closest points.
Did you know you can see tall things from further away, especially if you yourself are much higher up? Take that, science, flat earth and real, cosmic stupid.
You will not see any curvature where it's supposed to be. According to the Pythagorean theorem, which states that the curvature of the Earth is 8 inches per mile squared, Oahu should not be visible whatsoever, but you can see the whole thing.
You actually can't. You can't see the beaches and shit like that that's lower down, mate. This video actually shows the opposite of what you're saying, and it's hilarious that you can't figure that out. You know, someone once asked me why I hate flat earths. They're no threat, and I couldn't help but laugh. I love flatards because they are stupid and have absolutely zero power to affect anything. In fact, even if they could, it would so quickly be made quite clear that none of their ideas and formula even work, that any impact that they could have would be zero. More flatards, please. I love them. Kind of a shame they fucking hate me for some reason. C'est la vie.
In 1887, Albert Michelson and Edward Morley conducted what's known as the Michelson-Morley experiment. This experiment was attempting to prove the speculated motion of the Earth around the Sun, and when it failed, Albert Einstein was forced to form the theory of relativity to overcome this problem. In fact, anytime mainstream science is faced with undesirable results, they create a workaround, which isn't real science at all.
Right, let me give you a really basic explanation of how science works. In its most basic form, science, or at least the scientific method, works by taking ideas, testing them, often disproving them, and taking any parts of that idea that do work and making new ideas and testing them until you come to the point where you have something that pretty much describes reality. And then you can take that and then use it to make predictions, which is useful for figuring out further ideas and doing the whole thing all over again. So the process is absolutely contingent on things being wrong and being proven wrong. It's self-correcting. You could not expect to see any scientific idea that was come up with 1,000 years ago to still be used and useful to this day, completely unchanged. And honestly, I don't know anything about the first two guys you mentioned. I'm not going to look it up. But that's exactly what I would expect to happen. And the idea that relativity is nonsense is just complete bullshit that you obviously aren't going to back up. And again, relativity isn't in the same form it was when Einstein first presented it because science.
The Sun is claimed to be 93 million miles away, with a radius of over 400,000 miles, but can easily be proven to be much closer and smaller by tracing the crepuscular rays back to its origin in the sky. If the Sun were indeed 93 million miles away, it would simply be impossible to have angled sun rays, as they should all consistently come in straight.
Anti-crepuscular rays, have you ever heard of them? When you have that effect go over your head, if you turn around and trace the lines across the sky, you will find that they meet back into another point, and the light rays above you will be rather straight and parallel to each other. What you're seeing is an optical illusion. Much like walkways at the side of a road look like they're getting smaller and closer together as they get further away from you. The ones near you clearly parallel to each other, and the ones opposite the first seem to get smaller and closer. The same is happening with crepuscular rays. If this weren't the case, we wouldn't see them appearing to meet behind us. They would just disappear into the distance. They are, of course, parallel lines because the light from the sun is coming from so far away that when it reaches us, it's less like a flickering candle spreading around the room and more like a laser hitting us pinpoint in the darkness and basically running straight past.
According to the globular theory,
Your mum's globular.
a lunar eclipse occurs when the sun, earth, and moon are in a direct line. But it is on record that since about the 15th century, over 50 eclipses have occurred while both the sun and moon are visible above the horizon. F.H. Cook, The Terrestrial Plane.
Where? Over which horizon? You would think that the fact us stupid globeheads think that the Earth is round and thus people can live basically at any point on the round surface, someone, somewhere, can see it at any time of the day. I mean, this is why you can't see the solar eclipse properly from anywhere on the planet. You want to explain that shit? Not only is there not an eclipse for everybody, but it's literally the opposite time of day in some parts of the world. Or are the sun and the moon just non-existent when you can't see them because you don't have object permanence, you fucking infant?
It's a common misconception that the shadow of the Earth causes moon phases.
Only 5-year-olds and fucking morons think like that. Moon phases are based on the moon's position relative to us and the sun. The only reason lunar eclipses are in any way remarkable is the fact that they can happen at basically any point during those phases.
Even the pastors and priests of the science religion readily admit this fact.
Ugh, I'm not even going to address that. Instead, here's a picture of a cat in a bra.
The interesting thing about moon phases is that they are always the exact same 8 phases repeated. But if we were circling around the sun, these 8 phases would inevitably be reversed from the summer to winter seasons.
No, they wouldn't. What? Where the fuck did you get that from? The only reason the seasons change is because the Earth has a sort of wobbly axis. That has absolutely no impact on the way the moon moves around the Earth or the way the Earth moves around the sun. My god, it's like you are a moron who pulls this garbage right out of his buttered anus or something like that. Think you first, mate. Everything in this video has been absolutely asinine. I can't believe you have the capability to make what is honestly one of the most presentable flat earth videos I have ever seen. And kudos on that, by the way. Almost every time I have approached one of these videos, the production quality have been abysmal. Even with those that have clearly been edited in some way, shape or form. But the fact that someone can do this and yet can't figure out even the most simple facts about reality is frankly astounding to me.
I completely understand that the idea of a flat and stationary Earth seems ridiculous in many ways.
I wonder why that is.
But that's only because we are taught the false globe model from the very first time that we enter a school classroom.
And that all the facts and reality then goes on to bear it out. That basically none of our communication and navigation equipment would work if it wasn't true, and there isn't a single goddamn reason why anyone would lie about it. But you know, it flirt, guys!
Not to mention the first time we are introduced to the concept of a flat Earth, it's depicted as a highly laughable world where ships, boats, and water would run off of the edge.
Depends on the flatard you're talking to. Some think it's a highly laughable world that has a completely physics-defying infinite plane. A big part of the problem with flat earthers as a group is they hardly agree on anything, and yet pretty much the entire scientific community agree with all the fundamental facts about the world, as our models currently understand them, and the predictive models we use to bear it out. Weird, right?
So I do get it, but it's all part of the deception. I've spent 30 years of my life believing that we were on a spinning globe.
And then I assumed you banged your head really, really hard?
It wasn't until I unbiasedly and scientifically investigated the flat Earth claims that I started to realize that there is more to this theory than I originally gave it credit for.
Do you have anything that would, literally show your ability to have any grasp on the scientific method in any way, shape, or form?
Now, after almost 2 years of research, I'm certain that the Earth is flat.
2 whole years? Wow. Wow, you must have read, I don't know, 0.0000000000001% of the scientific literature showing that the Earth is as it is. And with 2 years, I also assume you've read all of the science backing up the flat Earth claim. Probably twice. It's almost like there's an overwhelming preponderance of evidence for one of those claims over the other.
We are told that the Earth spins at 1,040 miles per hour, while the Earth travels around the Sun at 66,000 miles per hour. Meanwhile, the whole solar system is going inside the Milky Way galaxy at a speed of 490,000 miles per hour. And finally, the entire Milky Way galaxy is darting through infinite space at over 1 million miles per hour.
Basically,
most people believe this, and yet every experiment ever conducted to prove even the simple spin of the Earth has failed.
oh fuck off, you can do it yourself with a pendulum in a bit of time. Leave it overnight and that bitch will move. If we were not spinning, it wouldn't. Every fucking experiment? I wouldn't mind, but you're so full of shit. You couldn't even be bothered to Google a basic experiment and try it out for yourself. But that's a common thread. Why do things when I can sit around with my mates and make shit up? Science!
The same thing goes for curvature. It's never been proven, and the only time we see it is in movies, NASA CGI, or when we're looking through a distorted fisheye lens. With all that said, please continue to research critically and don't be afraid to ask reasonable questions and speak out.
And do experiments that will slowly but surely knock all the factors that would be required for a flat earth to work until the day you realise how full of crap you are and what an insufferably smug little dipshit you have been, believing that you know better than people who dedicate their lives to science because you've done 2 whole years, TM, of research, more than likely in your spare time. On science-denying forums, which is the educational equivalent of microwaving an egg and saying you deserve a Michelin star. Also, the egg exploded because you didn't crack it, you fucking moron.